We are called workplace change, right? To lead change inside organizations. So number one, safety, physical and psychological. Not to be confused. That doesn't mean like, oh, this person's gonna cry if I tell her this feedback or if I tell them this feedback. Therefore, that's not trauma informed to have that conversation. I'm just gonna be irritated every day that you are terrible at your job, but I'm trauma informed. No. That means that when you are having a conversation, an important conversation about the workplace or what's happening in the workforce or some new initiative that's coming down the pike, you are thoughtful about the individual, the human being in front of you, right? What's your name? Bianca. If Bianca has a predisposition to cry, because Bianca has cried 17 times, right? I don't know Bianca. Do you have a predisposition to cry? I'm like, because I can move to somebody else. I'm not trying to traumatize you. Trying to be informed. And sometimes asking the question is informed, right? That means that you slow down the conversation. You prep Bianca for the conversation. You ask Bianca how would she like for you to share this information with you, right? It's being thoughtful about the conditions where she can receive the information. Not that you don't provide the information. It is that you prep the person, right? Serilda is a be brief, be bold, be gone person. Don't come in here with no 20,000 paragraph preamble. Now I'm irritated and I'm not hearing you, right? Understand the audience. If I'm brief, come in and say, all right, Serilda, I want to hit you with the 1, 2, 3. Let me know if you have any questions, process it, and you can follow back up with me because you spent time understanding who I am. And if you don't know who I am, or if you've got to deliver information in a broad manner, then you do it in the most sensitive and succinct manner possible, right? Designing it very thoughtfully. So that's what I'm talking about from a safety standpoint, psychological and physical safety. Trustworthiness and transparency, right? Are you trustworthy or should people not trust you? You know. You know before I know if I can trust you. If you're really just being self-aware, are you a trustworthy person? Are you gonna give people half the information to manipulate the situation and then wonder why they don't trust me? Right? The transparency, we placed it with the trustworthiness because the more transparent and open you are within reason, don't go around giving people social security numbers out like, well, they asked, I gave it to them. No, that's not what we're talking about here, right? But transparent with information, with process, with timeline, helping them understand the full picture and how many iterations, like when you're gonna give updates of the information along the way. That level of transparency makes you trustworthy. Right? Because you're being above board, up front about what's happening. Peer support. When change management is happening, having multiple people around who are going through the process, who have space to have conversations in an organized manner is very helpful. Because you may not say to Serilda what you may say to a person who is a colleague of yours. How do you help facilitate that dialogue where it's not commiseration, fellowship through commiseration? Have you ever seen that? Who works in HR in here? Y'all have seen it, right? You've done it, maybe, right? I'm frustrated. So I get with another person who's frustrated and then we commiserate throughout about our frustrations, making us more frustrated, right? When we bring some more people in, like, you know what? Teresa's frustrated too. She should go on this power walk with us tomorrow. We're gonna fellowship through commiseration. All right, collaboration and mutuality. How do we bring other people into the conversation before it's cooked? Before it's cooked. We are not elementary school teachers or high school teachers. We are managing adults, grown-ups. We should treat people, well, most of the time. I mean, some people, get out of here, right? It's like, get your life, sir, madam. But by and large, adults want to be treated like adults. They want you to give them the information and have a conversation with them. And then they know that your job is to make the decision. But they like to feel like they are a part of the solution. Things are happening with them, not to them. And that's nearly every single human being. All right? Empowerment, right? Allowing people to design some of the solutions when appropriate. And cultural responsiveness. So think about workplace culture, but also think about identity culture. People bring their whole entire identity into the workplace, and different people, especially, our minds are wired differently. right? And so you have to use different modalities, use different ways of articulating what's happening, create an open door policy, because some folks need to go small, other people can be in an amphitheater and it's perfectly fine. But how are you flexible in communicating and engaging with the workplace or with the workforce? Those are the things that you take into consideration when you're thinking about providing culturally trauma-informed change management. These are the fundamentals. Now, I won't reference these verbatim anymore, but you understand the tenets, and you'll see them woven throughout the conversation today. Okay, we talked about this agenda. I have a reflection, and you will have one breakout session if I manage my time properly, which I'm going to do my best. Think about the last major change that happened inside an organization you were a part of. Major change. Maybe it was a rollout of a new initiative. Perhaps it was a reduction in force. Perhaps it was new management and leadership. Whatever the situation is, find that place in your mind and then describe. You can jot it down or note it or just capture it in your mind. You can draw a picture. Change felt like, right? In that moment, change felt like what? What adjective would you use? What statement would you make about that change that you saw happen, that you experienced inside your work environment? And I love to hear, once you find that place, that time, that moment, that word, that phrase, share it with us. Exciting.
Invigorated.
All right now, somebody wanted the change to happen. I like it. Well, I heard somebody else say something. Overwhelming. Chaotic.
Death.
You said death?
Death of what was.
Oh, right on, okay. I was like, okay. I didn't see it coming. I just didn't. So thank you for that. Anyone else? Growth, fear, relief, protection. Oh, rejection. I was like, protection through change. Okay. Huh. Were they being audited by the feds? Say it again. A restart, refresh. Okay. All right. I wanted you to find that place in your body, because whatever those feelings were, right, when you found that memory, it was as a result of the behaviors that management led, or your peers. Maybe you were part of management. But there was something that you had access to that made you feel that way. And maybe that way was a negative way, and maybe it was a positive way. But something was happening to you that made you have that feeling. And if it was positive, think about what happened, right? Think about what materially occurred that made you feel excited, invigorated, positive. Maybe it's because you had a seat at the table. You knew exactly what was going on and you felt like your voice was being heard throughout the process. Or maybe you were not at the table, but the way they administered it, it was on point. Like, yeah, that's how I should be treated. But for those who had a negative experience, find in your mind what those behaviors were too. Because that's the starting place. Whatever happened to you in that moment, try not to replicate that, right? Try to think about ways you can influence leadership to not make that mistake in the future. Because if it was traumatic, right? If it landed on you poorly, if you were fearful, if you were afraid, terrified, vulnerable, that was a moment of trauma, and likely multiple points of trauma over a sustained period of time that you are still either managing, it's lingering with you, or you had to work through. That's how trauma happens. People think about trauma only in, their personal lives or things that happen with their parents. It's always mom's fault, right? People think about it that way, but the greatest source of trauma in your life is happening very likely in your workplaces. Not just one, many of them. Many of them. I think about and it's not big trauma. It's those micro, moments. It's those micro moments. I got a paper cut for the first time in my life in 2022. Swear to God. I'm taking us somewhere. I got a paper cut in 2022 for the first time in my life. Now, I had had a splinter, which I thought was the equivalent of a paper cut. It is not. I got a paper cut, and I was like, ouch. But it wasn't the moment of the paper cut that was most traumatic for me. It was when I washed dishes. It was when I made homemade lemonade. Yeah. Has everyone here had a paper cut before? Look, you didn't even know. You didn't even look around. You just assumed. Who here hasn't ever had a paper cut? Has not. I'm like, I got one. Yes. I was nearly 40 before I got a paper cut. But I had this paper cut, and I had this aha of like, these are like the traumas you get in the workplace. Those are the microaggressions. It's paper cut after paper cut after paper cut after paper cut. Who here's like, you know what? Paper cuts are cool. I'm with it. Give me one. No one. They're awful. They're really bad. Like, I've only had one, and it stuck with me. I'm traumatized. But that is the way the microaggressions, those micro moments, that's what's happening to you. They're little paper cuts on your soul. And they stick with you for a very long time, right? And it's not a single paper cut. Imagine if you had to go into an environment where you received a physical paper cut 20 times a day, every single day. Does this analogy help you understand? Like, we talk about microaggressions very just cavalierly. Oh, it's a microaggression. Oh, right? People get more excited over macroaggressions. You come in, you flip a table over, you threaten somebody's life. It's like macroaggression. But I'm like, those paper cuts build up, cause harm, and impact you for a long time in ways that you can't even understand how it changes your behavior and how you show up and engage with people fundamentally different. When you do change management poorly, you could be the inflictor of those paper cuts in fundamental ways that no, it wasn't your intention. No, it wasn't my intention. I hear that all the time from executives. We're working with, what, John, 46, 47 companies right now, 48. Soon to be 50. Woo! Right now, I cannot tell you the number of executives who are like, well, they should give me grace. That's not my intention. But it's the impact on a human being. And it matters. And we can get it right. That's why I'm here today. I want you to think about the planning, values alignment, and the people that are being impacted. All right? So I want to give an example. Hold on, I wrote down an example in my car. Let's say a reorg. Let's say that there is a reorg that's been identified as necessary from the business side of the house, right? The CEO, the CAO, some of the chiefs, they said, we have to do a reorg because of this particular thing that's happening. We got to do a reorg. All right, now the reorg decision was leadership's, absolutely. How it gets implemented and activated, whether it's within one particular vertical or it's enterprise-wide, that is where we must enter the chat. Right? We've got to think about, right, the vision and the planning. People say reorgs very cavalierly. We should just reorg. This is people's lives. This is people's lives, what they can anticipate, right? How their life operates, how they have to relearn things or storm, norm, form. What is it? Form, storm, norm, perform. There it is. I'm like, reconfigure. No, that's not it. They're supposed to rhyme, right? So the vision and the planning, why do we need to reorg? You need to fundamentally understand the business of the why. And too many HR practitioners believe that, well, because they said so, we must. No, yes, and. Yes, you can't go in and say, no reorg. You may not have your job. So don't say Serilda said on that front, okay? But you need to understand the why. And you need to have somebody, articulate it to you in a way that you can absorb, because you may not be in the day-to-day of the business and the operations, and you should not feel poorly about that. But they should be able to explain it in a way that a third grader can understand it. That's important. All right? And then start to put together the plan, whether they ask you for it or not. Quite frankly, I don't wait for the invitation for will you HR, I'm now mandating you to put together a plan. No, my job is to put together the plan. So I'm gonna tell you, give me 2 days. I'll have a stencil, like a stick figure plan, and then we can put the meat and the potatoes onto that plan from there. Next up on the strategic side of the house is assess impact on people. How many human beings are being impacted? Will they be merging under one new leader? Does that new leader have a relationship with them? Because usually when two teams go to one or things of that nature, you know that leader. You maybe had an issue with that leader, and because it wasn't your boss, you didn't actually have to like him very much. Uh-oh, now they're your boss. That's happened to some people with me before. I don't hold a grudge though. That's a lie, I do. I do, I remember, long memory. So you assess the impact on the people. Are they merging? We're with the client right now where a team, it's in government, and government's going through some changes in the state of Oregon in particular, but I think also Washington as well, where they're having to not refill certain positions. They're merging teams. And this one client is going to be merging a team under an executive, and 3 members of this 6-person team has filed a complaint about that executive. How you think that's gonna work? It's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess unless we can get a lot more like super responsive, right? And go small ball and talk to the team and rehabilitate the relationship. But assess impact on the people. Yes, you're gonna save an executive position. You're not gonna rehire them. You're gonna merge this team, but they're gonna be deeply dysfunctional because the complaints that they lodged about this individual who's gonna now be their supervisor were that he was mean-spirited, engaged in aggression and bullying. And so now they're gonna be on his team and he's gonna tell them, I don't want you to do something. And what do you think they're going to say? Especially if it's something they wanna do. What are they gonna say? What word are they gonna use? Huh? No, they're not gonna say no because they'll get fired. But they will make a claim. What will the claim be? Or retaliation. Harassment or retaliation. Big words in a government organization, which usually launches into what? An investigation. Come on now. Which usually leads to what conclusion? Most investigations end in what? Unsubstantiated. It's over 90% of investigations, SHRM said, leads in unsubstantiation. I have conducted thousands of investigations over my career, and I would say let's say 1,000 investigations, about 60 of them were fully substantiated to the point where a person was going to be disciplined in some form or fashion. So, they get merged to a person. The person then manages them and tells them no, at least from his vantage point. He'll say, I was just managing them. I told them, my perspective, like I would do with anyone on the team. Then they say that there's harassment or retaliation is happening. Then their HR goes into autopilot. We have to investigate that claim, which in reality, they should have been working on the relationship dynamics before we ever got here to begin. We know that there are relationship problems. To not do the early steps is really bad, to use a technical term, right? So then we investigate, we identified that we cannot substantiate that this person retaliated against them based on some vulnerable identity or some whistleblower claim, not gonna be substantiated. This person over here who feels like they're in a hostile environment because of this merger is gonna feel, celebrated that this investigation was unsubstantiated? Then again, how will that manager feel? Everybody's pissed off because we did not go upstream and do this early work. Play small ball, take our time, have the conversations that are important, facilitate some small conversations, right? To get this back on track if this merger must happen, all right? You also need to think about resource planning. Do we need some extra money to make this happen? Do we need some professional help to make this happen? If so, have we thought about this while we're just cavalierly throwing around the reorg term? And then culture alignment. What culture are we trying to establish? What values do we claim to espouse in the decisions that we're making? And it's not to say we cannot do this, but we have to be thoughtful on the front end of these topics before we start to implement and activate. So with this client that we're working with right now, where they're merging the teams, I told him, the head of the organization we're working with, you need to absorb that team right now. Do not just move them over and think that's cool. He's like, I've got too many people report. I understand that. It's super inconvenient for you. I got it. You know what's more inconvenient for you? Dozens of investigations and claims that renders your most senior executive just rudderless, like doesn't know what to do. He's paralyzed with fear. His reputation and his career is on the line. So now they are with the most senior person inside the organization, but just for a little while. We're starting the smaller conversations to start to get those ladies, the whole team of ladies, prepared to merge over to his team and getting him some training because he does some things. He does some things. And put him on notice, don't do those things. I know you do these things. Don't do those things. All right? So that's on the strategic side. I just used one illustration, but these are the kinds of thoughts that only we should be the people who are driving these kinds of conversations. Right? And oftentimes we're asking permission to have these conversations. Why? Does the finance guy come in and ask permission to talk about finance? Does the IT person come in and say, ooh, you know, it'd be super important to just talk about like data storage. But I mean, only if you want me to. No! They're talking about data storage like it's super interesting, and it's not. It's not. But I still have to listen. So they've got to listen to these things too. Okay? So now we're going to talk about the operations side of the house. Operations side of the house, okay? We communicate, execute, and people manage. So we got the strategic side. The strategy's set. It's ready to go. We made the plan. Now we're working the plan. I say all the time, you make the plan, you work the plan. You make the plan, you work the plan. You made the plan on the strategy side of the house. Now you're working the plan. All right? Communicate, execute, people impact. So we become the owners and operators of what this communication and execution strategy should look like and be like and feel like. There's a tech company in California who did a global search for a new CEO they're nearly at $1 billion in revenue year over year. So it's a big firm. They have a big team. And the founder of the company is now the chair of the board, and a new CEO is coming on board. So all this workforce has ever known is the CEO that just stepped down. Huge opportunity for change management. And this is a squirrely bunch. I've worked with them for years. So I'm like, okay. We know you've identified who you're going to select as the CEO. They were going to put they have a big sustainability component to their tech company, and people take great pride in it because they believe that they're the only firm that takes the health of the globe and humanity into consideration before they do techie things. I'm like, y'all still doing some problematic things, but you know what? Whatever makes you feel good. But they're very passionate about it. And this guy has no social justice, no social, environmental, he has no background on that front. But when you talk to him, he alleges that he's got a passion for it. So they were like, they put together this press release that they were going to send to the workforce with this man's name, which then they would look up on LinkedIn and then find out that he has zero background in the things that they think are most important, and that the founder and CEO was a governing tenet of the foundation of the company. How do you think that was going to go? Before this man even would have had an opportunity to talk to the workforce, they would have already made the judgment. They would have already been sending emails to the board, to the press, to whoever will listen, right? And now you're going upstream with this character instead of starting out, positively. So instead, when I saw that press release, I said, don't do that. And they were like, what do you mean? We always do that. Number one, you've never done this because you've had the same CEO for 100 years. So that's not true. And this is not any old executive. So we put together a town hall. It was a video announcement to launch it, to talk about where he gets to talk about why he chose the job and give some context about his identity. He's also from Europe, so the accent helps. It does. And folks were like, wow, and he's very, some would say, handsome. Doesn't hurt, okay? He does the video. Folks were like, oh, wow, he said this. Oh, he's French, right? And then they did a town hall to welcome him. Strategy, plan, right? Operations, execution. People love this CEO as a result of it. No, he doesn't have the background, and they would have cooked his goose if they would have just rolled him out, on paper form. But instead, they rolled him out from the human-centric approach. It matters, right? Thinking about change management, are there some employee support programs that you need to have already prepped in preparation for the changes to come? Right? If you know rifts are coming, do you have offboarding resources? Can you connect them to a recruitment agency? Can you do some of this pre-work, right? So that those who are impacted, they get this kit that's more than just a 2-week severance or a 2-month severance or a 6-month severance. The market is very unpredictable right now. People will be stressed out, right? And then the policies and process updates. People skip this phase almost every single time. How are we codifying these changes? Even if it's a reorg, can you just do the org chart? Can somebody do that? When I come and start to work with you and I say, can I get the org chart? And they're like, oh, that's probably 4 iterations old. What have y'all been doing in here? Good God, right? And then it's the feedback and pulse checks, which I love. Check in with the people, because I love this because people love this. They are so appreciative when you just follow up. And then tell them what they told you. Share with them what you heard, right? Not that Teresa said, but 40% of the workforce were, and therefore we are doing X, Y, and Z. Because we heard from you, we responded in the following way, because we care. It makes a huge difference. All right, so make the plan, work the plan. HR serves as the human bridge between employees and leadership. That means HR doesn't just relay messages. HR interprets, clarifies, and humanizes the messages. We are not just messenger people. So many HR people believe that our job is just to, send out the emails, put up a physical copy in the break room. No. Can we do some listening circles? Can we just be creative about the human condition and experience to reduce the likelihood of having 50 paper cuts as a result of what's happening?